spelled with a K.com.
Black cow, the mature manure, black cow.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
Does know the plan, but Carolyn is not here today. Her plan today did not include being here in the station, so she has asked her friend Dave Goodman to come in. He is doing the show on behalf of Carolyn. The show is In the Garden with Carolyn, but today you're in the garden with Dave Goodman, and he's here to answer your questions. First time we met him, which was the last time he was here, I mean, he blew us all away. It was such a great piece of information, and nothing brings me more joy actually than to watch a man in love with his own family, and your family's outside the window right now, and you're just all smiles. Good morning, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good to see you. Yeah, the last time you came on, we had a lot of great comments after the show, and so many things that you brought to the show that were uniquely yours. So,
well, I was honored to be here. It's like I do local gardening. Grow in this area, and be on the radio in this area is just fantastic.
And but the whole state is named after the expression for flower or something like that, right? Flowery something. Flowery Easter, I think, is what it was originally called, right?
Well, I wonder how it got the name Florida sometimes, because they say, oh, there's so many flowers when people showed up. I thought, well, they must have shown up in Miami, because, if they showed up in Ocala, they would, with Virginia creeper and live oaks and moss, it's not exactly the most blooming place in the world.
Right. So how have you been?
I've been doing well. I'm actually excited because 3 weeks ago, my second book came out, which is...
What's the title?
Compost Everything.
Compost Everything.
The Good Guide to Extreme Composting.
Wow.
And it's under my pen name, David the Good. And
that's right, David the Good, yeah.
It was actually put out by a publisher in Finland, and they mostly publish military history and science fiction and fantasy and philosophy. And I had met the publisher before, and I was a fan of what he'd done. And I said, hey, I've got a gardening book. Are you interested? And he said, this is insane, but sure, why not? So he ended up putting out my book. And then for the first couple of weeks, we were actually in the top 10 of the gardening section of Amazon. It's currently downloadable as a Kindle version, and the paperback is supposed to come out within a week or so.
Oh, nice.
So,
well, good for you.
It's just kind of cool.
There was a story in the news a long time ago, and it was about a guy who composted everything. And he was the reason he was in the news, not because he did that, but because he was fighting the city because they were still charging him for garbage pickup. And he says, I have no garbage. Why should I pay?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. He literally composted everything. He bought nothing in a plastic wrapper. Everything he bought was like in the produce section. He would use a reusable, I should say, shopping bag. So he didn't even use their plastic bags.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you can compost just about anything organic. If you go to the extension and they say, they'll give you the list of things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get your carbon and nitrogen ratio correct, which is your greens and your browns. You're supposed to get, they say don't put paper in there, don't put meat in there, don't put eggs in there, they'll give you this big list of stuff that you're not supposed to compost.
Really?
But all of these things can go back to the soil. It's just, do you compost them safely? Or do you, obviously if you took beef stew and you poured it on the ground in the backyard, you probably have some animals show up and drag it off. But it doesn't mean it's not compostable. It just means you're not going to necessarily do it in your little tumbler.
They're helping you speed up the composting process, aren't they?
Right, exactly. They're carrying it off. They're turning it into manure within 24 hours.
So every once in a while, we will have as guests maybe a nutritionist or somebody like that who will, recommend different supplements, okay? And they will always say, because the ground doesn't have the nutrients that it once did.
Right.
I always think that's got to be nonsense. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's not that all the ground doesn't have the nutrients that it once did. It's just that it's say you've got a big field and you plant it with watermelons, right? Okay. Watermelons pull up a certain amount of this and a certain amount of that and a certain amount of this to make watermelons. Okay. So watermelons are made of minerals and mostly water, but there's minerals and carbon and nitrogen and that sort of thing that's in a watermelon. Well, then you sell the watermelons. So you've just taken a little bit of minerals off of the ground. Well, if you grew watermelons on that ground year after year after year, it strips more and more and more of the minerals out of the ground. And what usually happens is that your first year or two on some new ground, everything does pretty well. But if you don't add in fertilizers or compost or something, you've depleted the soil to the point where the plants won't grow happily anymore. They start to do poorly because you're sending away the minerals.
Okay, it makes sense. But don't most farmers replenish the ground that they're using with fertilizers and whatever else they?
Well, they try. So we've got, the Green Revolution led to, basically NPK. You get your 10-10-10 or your 6-6-6 or your 2-17-54, whatever, hike. What they try to do is put in enough to make the plants grow happily. Yeah, so a gentleman just came by and gave me a thumbs up. He's a gardener, right?
He's the gardener, fellow gardener, yes.
So pretty much they have tried to replace it, but if they're not putting in, say, selenium or molybdenum or magnesium or these minor elements, you may be getting big watermelons, but they don't have the mineral content that watermelons had 20 years ago when they first started growing them on the ground, because all those minor minerals are gone. You may still be able to grow the plant, just like you can fatten somebody up pretty good on donuts. If you lived on donuts, you're just not going to be all that healthy, honestly.
Right.
So the mineral content in our food is generally not as high as it used to be.
Oh, okay. So there's truth to it.
There is truth to it.
So do you take vitamins or supplements?
No, I try to eat a very wide range of both wild and cultivated foods as much as possible.
Do you have some beautiful children out there? They're watching you right now through the window?
Yes.
Do you and your wife make sure that they stay away from fast food and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we don't eat fast food. The children have gotten a little bit snobby. I think it's not necessarily healthy for them to go past a McDonald's and they say, "Does anybody eat there?" I'm like, like, okay, don't be that way. I mean, it's just no, we don't really eat fast food. We eat off of our own property. About really 100% of our vegetables are coming out of our backyard.
Is that right? Wow, that's amazing.
We haven't made it on meat, and we haven't made it on fruits and nuts, and we don't have a cow for butter and some of those sort of things.
Right.
But on vegetables, we're totally set. Plus, my children are also pretty good at wild foraging. If we go out into the woods, I've led foraging classes.
Really?
And sometimes I'll bring the children with me, and then the children will be picking weeds and eating them, and the students are going, can they eat that? Should they? Is that?
Oh,
I thought that was
and
poisonous.
They know. See, I would be the same way. I wouldn't know.
No, there's a lot of stuff.
I could walk with you through the Silver Spring State Park now.
There's all kinds of food down there. Yeah, well, we should do it.
Does it taste good? I think we talked about this.
Yeah, we did talk about it. Yeah, we should do it.
I think I was going to follow you with my camera.
Let's do a WOCA wild foraging.
Oh wow! Two things.
Yeah. See, eat weeds for money. Raise money.
The firefighters are doing this 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb Challenge.
Right.
To see if between July 7th and September 11th we can build up our stamina to the point where we could run up the entire flight that the firefighters ran on September 11th. There's 110 stories, I think.
I think if you're going to do it properly, you'd want to be running down, wouldn't you? I mean, away. I mean, that would be the...
Well, no, they did it both ways. The ones that cut out. They did it both ways. So this is kind of the same thing.
Wow.
In a way. I mean, it would be another challenge just to live. Could you, I mean... Have you ever forced yourself to like live in the woods just to see what you could?
No, I've thought about it at points.
Really?
Yeah, when I had a job a few years ago that was a little bit stressful, I was thinking, I really should just disappear into the woods, right? Come back out with a huge beard.
What was the first book you had? What was that called?
It's Create Your Own Florida Food Forest.
Oh, that's right. All right, we'll be right back.
MyFWC.com. Safe boating is no accident. Variable cloudiness today with a couple of showers and heavy thunderstorms in the area. The high 82 to 86. There'll be a shower and thunderstorm around early tonight, then partly cloudy later tonight, those 65 to 69. For tomorrow, clouds and breaks of sun with a couple of showers and thunderstorms. The high 84 to 88. Thursday, partly sunny with a shower and thunderstorm or two. High 86 to 90. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Are you still fertilizing flowers and vegetables the old-fashioned way? Then switch to Dynamite Premium Plant Food. The secret to more flowers, bigger blooms, and more vegetables is consistent feeding. Dynamite Premium Plant Food is formulated for our Florida climate and has a unique coating that releases nutrition consistently, so there are no peaks and no valleys. Dynamite is just a terrific product. It even contains the micronutrients plants need in small quantities for maximum growth. With Dynamite, you get an explosion of color, flowers, and vegetables. Dynamite comes in a handy shake and feed plastic bottle. Just one application will last up to 6 months. For more flowers, bigger blooms, and more vegetables, try Dynamite Premium Plant Food today. Look for Dynamite at your Home Depot or Lowe's garden department. Visit on the web at dynamiteplantfood.com.
Are you tired of not using your home's outdoor space for entertaining or relaxation because of all the bugs and leaves? Consider adding a beautiful screen room or glass enclosure. We are Superior Aluminum and Design, a family-owned and operated business with 20 years experience in the aluminum industry, and we are accredited by the Better Business Bureau. If you appreciate superior workmanship, call Superior Aluminum and Design at 817-8058 or visit us on the web at superiораluminumdesign.com.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust-proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
Do you have areas that have started sagging or drooping? Is what you're looking at not quite the same as it was years ago? Are there enhancements you've been putting off? Is there serious damage you need fixed? Then call on us, Damage Control Services, when your roof is sagging and the drywall is drooping after a storm, or your home just needs some enhancements. From damage repairs to new construction, Damage Control Services is here to help.
All right, thank you. And it's 18 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dave Goodman is here to help. And if you're looking for his books, he goes by the pen name of David the Good, right? David the Good?
David the Good.
Is that right? And his new book is called Compost Everything. He's here right now to answer your questions about your lawns, your gardens, your composting, or anything associated with that. He's sitting in for Carol Ann Baldwin, who's out somewhere. Do you know what she's doing?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Probably something cool.
Something cool. And of course, the show is called In the Garden with Carol Ann. But the phone line is open right now if you want to speak to David. The number is 622-9622-622-WOCA. So what is your job? What do you do?
Yeah, my wife asks the same thing every day.
I mean, you're an author.
Day, yeah.
Is that? I mean, do you totally survive on the writing that you do?
I do. For the most part, I've got a little plant nursery as well.
Okay.
We set up at the 326 market on Thursday afternoons, and I sell rare edible plants, perennial vegetables, fruit trees, nut trees. You know, a lot of stuff we've been testing for this area. And if anybody's interested in testing some of these very interesting crops from around the world, I usually have them.
Give a plug for the 326 market. I know that a lot of people, when they hear about it, they go, "What? Where is that?" and the only reason Robert and I know about it is because of a mutual friend, Kathy Snyder.
Yes, yeah. Kathy is a market manager, and the 326 market is sort of a unique. Well, it really is a unique market. It's laid back. It's just north of Ocala off of 326. If you went up Old Jacksonville Road, hung a right on 326. It's right on the right there on Thursday afternoons from 3 to 7. And the market is located in this beautiful little field. And in the field near the front, there's a ring of live oak trees, and so the little booths are underneath the live oak trees, so it's actually shady even on a hot day.
Nice, yeah.
It's very pleasant, and it's kind of the nicest group of vendors and customers of any of the markets that I've been to. It's children are playing there. They've got games out for the kids. They got a little free library.
Yeah,
my children come with me regularly and hang out and run around the market with the other kids. And people bring in strange animals and walk around with them. I mean, there's a gentleman that's got this huge rabbit that just rides on his shoulder. He comes in every week, and people say hi to the rabbit. There's a camel back behind the market. There's a camel in the field. Yeah.
I've seen the camel.
It's like I think their ad should say, "We have a camel." I mean, it's the only market with a camel. I don't know if that how big a marketing strategy that might be.
Yeah, hey, I think you're onto something.
Come see the camel.
I think you're right. I think that would get people to show up.
But yeah, it's a great little market.
Oh, we had a great time there. Kathy invited us to play music there when we were busking, in other words, begging for money for the Literacy Council a few years ago, and it was just a joy to be there. And we have a phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with David. Are you there? Well, I guess not. But the phone lines are open if you want to be on the air with David. Oh, here we go. Now we got somebody calling in. Good morning. You're on the air with David.
Yes. Good morning, guys. See, you're talking about that farmers market over here on 326. I live about maybe 2-3 miles from it, right off of 326, and it's really a great place to go to. And like you say, it's got a lot of unusual things there, and it's really kind of a homey spot. You know what I mean? It's something you always want to take when you get visitors, that are coming down to visit you. It's one of the attractions you want to get them to take over there because it's so interesting, and the food is wonderful, the products.
Yeah, absolutely.
A question now. Okay, down here in Florida, we have pecan trees and peanuts. You can grow peanuts. Now, what about like walnut or even like a cashew? I suppose this area would be good for that, huh?
That's a very good question. It's actually something I've done a decent amount of experimentation with. We are in between climates for a lot of nut trees. People that move here wish they could grow a macadamia nut, because you can grow macadamia nuts about south of Orlando, but it's just a little too cold up here. And our climate is technically warm enough for almonds, as we can grow peaches, but almonds don't like the high humidity, so the fruit tends to rot and mold over, and you don't get any good nuts. The same thing is true of pistachios. Pistachios require a hot, dry ripening period, so the shells will shatter, and what happens is, that doesn't happen here. The only nuts that we can really grow successfully here that I know of would be black walnut, which is not quite as easy to manage as the English walnuts. It's got a much harder shell and a smaller nut, but it's delicious. You can grow black walnuts, you can grow pecans, and you can also grow chestnuts quite well, both the Chinese chestnut and in Alachua there is the Chestnut Hill Tree Farm, and they have a big grove of blight-resistant chestnut varieties that make big sweet nuts that are excellent. Marginally, we are supposed to be able to grow potentially hazelnuts here, and I've got about 8 seedling hazelnuts growing in my yard that haven't really done much of anything yet. It's been about 3 years, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully in the future. Cashews, cashews are much further south.
Yeah, you're basically talking trees, right? But like a pistachio nut, that's like in a bush?
A pistachio is a small tree. A hazelnut is somewhere between a tree and a shrub, depending on the variety. You can grow some things that are similar to nuts. That similar like taste profile. Like you can grow Chinese water chestnuts, but they're actually a sedge grass that makes an edible root beneath, and those are delicious and easy to grow. But there's not much.
Does it take a lot of patience and caring to do this with these trees? I mean, the produce off these trees has to be fantastic eventually.
Yes.
But, does it need a lot of fertilizing, watering, and all kinds of stuff? to keep it going?
It depends on how you're growing them. Pecans require a little bit of work. And they also are going to take you 8 to 10 years before they actually start to come into production, which is, that's an investment, and I think it's worth it, but it's a long term. If somebody wanted to put, say, a cathedral live oak in their front yard, they really wanted a live oak or something, something as a landscape tree, I believe they should just plant a couple of pecan trees instead, and then just you're planning on living in your house 10 years or more, why not stick a couple in? For less,
they're probably not as messy as an oak tree, because I on my property I got an acre lot here, and I've taken 5 of them out because they got so big and it was terrible, like the gutters, and I couldn't grow grass underneath it.
Oh yes,
nothing but a big mess. So I got rid of them.
Yeah, there are pecan trees scattered through downtown Ocala. There used to be a pecan grove running through. There's actually one.
Is that right?
There's one growing behind Taco Bell on 40. There's a beautiful one back there in their parking lot. Yeah.
What is the life of a pecan tree, and how big do they get?
Pecan tree is 60 to 80 foot tall. It's quite a big tree, and the lifespan is going to be longer than us, probably 80, 100 years or more. I can't tell you for sure, though, but it is a long-lived, very wonderful hardwood tree. If you want nuts fast, you plant a chestnut tree, because you can get chestnuts in about 3 years. So they're very precocious. They can start fruiting when they're about 6 foot tall.
Is there some place in town where you can buy a tree, maybe like 6 foot tall, a pecan tree or whatever?
Yeah, I actually carry them in my nursery. I mean, if you go to my website, the floridasurvivalgardening.com, there's an email contact link there. Okay. And if you're hunting for any of those things, I can get them in the nursery, and I bring them to the 326 market with me on Thursdays.
Okay, do you live locally here?
I do, yes. I'm just north of Ocala.
Okay. Oh, very good. Okay, I'm looking you up because I'm kind of interested. It's kind of a pretty tree too, a pecan tree. Besides, giving a product eventually. But I know somebody that has a few pecan trees that lives south of here, and I always kind of admired the looks of them. They're kind of nice, and they're really not all that messy,
No, they're beautiful, and the value of the nuts makes it worth it too.
Yeah, right. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I went to your website, floridasurvivalgardening.com.
That's right.
Yeah, everybody write that down. Go to this website. And do you keep this up all the time? I mean, you always updating things?
Oh, yes, every weekday. I've done a post every weekday for almost 3 years.
Oh, wow. What is a velvet bean? What is that?
A velvet bean is it's a bean from the tropics. Uh-huh. And it's very medicinal. You can't eat too many of them because they'll give you migraines. However, if you eat a few of them, they're a major testosterone booster as well as a dopamine precursor.
You might explain those 7 children.
Well, it may, that and I don't have a television, so. But it's got dopamine precursors in it, which actually lead to an elevated sense of I can handle everything. So between the testosterone and the feeling good of it,
You're Superman.
Yeah, it's funny because the beans actually taste delicious. I pick the pods when they're not all the way ripe; they're still a little soft.
Yeah.
Take the beans and boil them like you would do boiled green peanuts, put in some salt brine. But I only do it for about 20, 30 minutes until they absorb that salt brine and they taste delicious. I mean, you want to eat more, and you think, there's really not been a lot of studies on this bean, so I probably shouldn't eat more. And I tried doing a scientific study of how well I felt during the day consuming velvet beans. But it didn't turn out very scientifically because they tasted so good. I kept going by the fridge and eating a couple more, and like my wife's going, I don't think science is supposed to be done this way. If something happens to you, there's a lot of.
So nobody's really studied this bean before.
It's been there's been some studies on it, but trying to find data online.
But you're the go-to guy. It sounds like like you've done more research than anybody else.
A little bit, yeah. If you look up John Starnes over in Tampa, he's a big fan of.
So how do you know your testosterone was increased?
We just feel awesome. I feel like when you start getting randomly angry and you start getting zits, it's working.
Randomly angry. Is that what testosterone does? Well, that might explain me then. All right, we got 1 minute before the break, but if you're on the line, I see somebody here. You're welcome to stay through the break. Good morning. You're on the air with David.
Good morning, David. I would like to know if you ever watch any of these survival programs and you watch how they're starving them to death because they can't catch any critters to eat, and yet they're walking through a jungle. And I wonder if your knowledge,
good question.
Saying, "Oh, you dummy, you should know some of this." What's edible and
That's really good.
I'll answer that.
Plant that was full of thorns, and the guy stripped the thorns off, and the inner root supposedly was very sweet and delicious.
I'll answer that right after this break.
Yeah,
when we come through.
Good point.
That's a great question.
Sonny, if you want to
hang up, and I'll be listening.
All right, that is a great question. Thank you, Sonny. All right, we will take a break, and we'll be right back. There's another half hour. David Goodman sitting in for Carol Ann Baldwin. If you want to call, 622-9622 is the number. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. The ride is apparently over for the acting head of the Transportation Security Administration after covert tests reveal security failures.
Melvin Caraway has been reassigned. Homeland Security officials confirmed to Fox News that TSA screeners failed 67 out of 70 tests carried out by special investigators with the Department of Homeland Security.
Fox Radio's John Decker, friends of the convicted Boston Marathon bomber, face sentencing this week.
All three of them were in Johar Tsarnaev's dorm room at the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth just hours after the FBI released photos of Tsarnaev and his brother Tamerlan during the manhunt.
Fox Radio's Tanya J. Powers. And lawmakers demanding answers today relating to last month's deadly train derailment in Philadelphia. Amtrak officials and federal safety regulators will be questioned at a hearing about technology to slow trains and why it wasn't in place before the accident. Fox News. We report, you decide.
And now another golf confessional brought to you by Golfsmith. Recently, a man decided to spare his family the expense of Father's Day. No lunches, cards, or gifts. Then he heard about amazing savings on the latest products at Golfsmith and immediately changed his mind. Besides, he could always be thrifty on another holiday, like Valentine's Day. Hurry in for savings on prior generation Titleist Pro V1s and FootJoy DNA golf shoes this Father's Day, only at Golfsmith. Anything for golf.
Your time is just that. Yours. That's why Premier Express from Mercedes-Benz is made for you. With no appointment necessary, you can pull up anytime, get dedicated vehicle maintenance, and be in and out in about an hour or less. It's quick, it's convenient, and it's one more way we can give you something special. The luxury of time. Visit mbusa.com/Premier Express today to find a participating dealer near you. Premier Express. It's about you. And it's about time.
Black Cow composted cow manure is a terrific organic soil amendment. We start with cow manure from dairy farms and then compost it a full 90 days. The result is an all-natural, dark, rich soil amendment that's great for everything you grow. Flowers, vegetables, shrubs, trees, and lawns too. Look for Black Cow in the bright yellow and black bag at your favorite nursery or garden center.
Black Cow, the mature manure. Black Cow. Black Cow, the mature manure. Black Cow.
We often mention enriching your native soil with Black Cow when you prepare a flower bed or vegetable garden, or plant new shrubs and trees. Adding Black Cow helps retain moisture and adds millions of healthy microbes to your soil. Healthy soil means healthy plants, but you can also top dress with Black Cow composted cow manure even after planting. You can come back a month or two later and spread Black Cow on top of the soil around the root zone of a shrub or tree, or spread it evenly over a flower bed or rows of vegetables in your garden. Black Cow releases nutrients slowly. It won't burn tender roots because it's fully composted. Look for the bright yellow and black bag at your favorite nursery or garden center. And visit the website too at blackcow.com.
Black Cow, the mature manure. Black Cow.
If you're anything like I was, the thought of getting older was the last thing on your mind. But here we are. For me, it started slowly. The lack of energy, never being in the mood. And when I was, I could never perform at my best. I tried the pills and other treatments with minimal results, and all but given up on my sex life. Then I found the doctors at New Male Medical Center. Wow, they made a new male out of me. Feel like I'm 25 again. I have renewed vigor, so much more energy, and no longer worry about my performance. New Male treated me like my situation was one of a kind. With a custom treatment plan that really works, I feel great. They could create create one for you too. It does not matter if you suffer from low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, or just want to last longer. New Male will help you.
Call New Male Medical Center today at 352-404-4779. 352-404-4779. That's 352-404-4779. It will change your life. 352-404-4779.
Putting the local back into radio. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. WOCA News. Variety. Information. Now. Keep your arms and legs on the inside at all times.
The most trusted name in news, Fox News, every half hour, only on 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
WOCA.
More about David Goodman. Wow, this is you. The Eye of the Hurricane. It's the beginning of hurricane season. You got a whole album of music. How much? Gosh, you're a painter. You're a gardener. You're a singer, songwriter, and
I'm actually good at one or two of those. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that was pretty actually nice right there. That was pretty nice. I went to your website and I saw the link to this album called David the Good. So.
Boy,
the brain spider, the brain spider
affair. Yes, just completely.
What is the song "Publix" about? What is that about? Is that
it's about Publix.
About the grocery store.
Shopping at Publix.
Really catchy tune. Oh, baby, one day they'll play the song at Publix, and you'll be running along with your cart full of oatmeal, not expecting to be assaulted by a.
You got a good, nice voice. A nice voice.
Okay, that's enough. We gotta stay.
We won't do any more of that.
Better get back to gardening.
Are you embarrassed?
It's too much for Ocala.
No, it's not. They would lie. Are you kidding?
No.
They just need to know about it. So
I found that the best thing to do is to insult the local audience. It raises your value.
That doesn't insult anybody. No.
All right. Survival in the jungle.
Yeah. The question from Sonny. Sonny was the gentleman who called you.
Yeah. How do these folks go through the jungle? You think there's so much density here, and there's so many animals and all these kind of things, and how are they going through there and they're starving? Well, the thing is that wherever you have trained to survive is where you're going to be good at surviving. I mean, if you take somebody that knows Ocala really well, and they know where everything is, they know where the bus station is, they know where the downtown market is, they know where the food is, and you were to take them and transport them to Tokyo and say, go get something to eat, go take a ride, why don't you go find, which way do you go to get to the ocean? They're going to be totally
used to GPS.
Totally lost, right? Well, yeah, you could cheat, and if you were wandering around the jungle with your phone, you Google what is weird creeper, giant grub edible, but really, I took a hike on a little piece of the Appalachian Trail with a friend a year ago, and I thought, I know a lot of wild plants. I mean, in Florida, if I'm in the woods in Florida, people are surprised. They're like, I didn't know that was a blueberry plant. I said, yeah, you got 3 different species of wild blueberries growing right here. And they're like, we didn't even know blueberries grew in Florida. So, oh, yeah, they're here. You got to be able to spot them. But once you spot them, you start seeing them everywhere. We got wild pawpaws. We've got, smilax vines, which have edible shoots. I know which yams you can eat and which wild yams you can't eat. There's a lot of stuff. I'll do these foraging tours, and we'll have sometimes 20 different edibles within a little short walk through the woods, and people are like, wow, I never knew. I stepped over this my whole life. Well, if you haven't studied it and eaten it, if you just randomly go around and start tasting stuff, that doesn't work out well. And when you're in an environment that you're not used to, when I hiked the Appalachian Trail, I thought, there's probably a lot of stuff out here I can eat. But it was fall, and I didn't see any wild persimmons. I was looking for wild persimmons, and I didn't see any nut trees I recognized, and we were at a pretty high altitude, so the change in species was so much, I wasn't finding hardly a thing to eat up there.
But if there was somebody like you who was familiar with that area...
If I spent an afternoon with an Appalachian forager, I would be able to wander through those woods and probably find plenty to eat. So you if you don't know, I mean, some plants, there are plants, you eat a little piece of that plant and it will inflame your throat and your mouth, and, some of them will give you burns.
That's not good.
And so you don't want to do that. The Army Survival Manual gives all these instructions on how you can figure out which things are edible and which things aren't.
Do you know what would be interesting? And again, what you just said tells me that this might be a real challenge for anybody, even somebody like yourself. But one of my brothers lives in Los Angeles. He's going to retire in a few weeks. He's got a piece of property in the desert in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
And he said it's near the city of Yucca. Well, I went to Google Earth or whatever you call the thing, and I looked at Yucca, and there's nothing in Yucca. and when you look at the landscaping, there's not many plants there. I saw a what do you call it, Joshua tree? I saw one of those.
Yeah.
And some cactus.
It's interesting. There is a lot of food in the desert. It's just, you got to know what you're looking for. I mean, a lot of those cacti are edible. Of course, you eat the wrong one, and you'll be flying, through outer space in your mind. And
really?
Wake
They're
up
hallucinogenic?
Yeah, some of them will mess you up. But if you know what you're eating, a lot of the pad cactus, like the prickly pears, you can take those spines off. You could chop those pads up and eat them. And the same thing with the fruit. The fruit are good on those. And there's mesquite trees. They actually take the pods off the mesquites and they pound them up with a hammer mill, and they make flour out of it, so you can make a kind of a sweet. They taste like honey. It's a honey mesquite type of a flavor.
Wow.
There's stuff out there that you can eat. I mean, there's also stuff out there that'll eat you. There's scorpions and chupacabra. I mean, whatever else is out in the desert there.
Yeah, right.
But yes.
I went out there with my son years ago. My son, I said, let's go see some cactus like they show in the cartoons. That was exactly the way I said it, because the cactus around here don't look like the ones in the cartoons. So we didn't know where we were going. And we went as far west as I could afford the time to go, which was way out in West Texas. And we never did see the big cactus. Well, then I was talking to the same brother. He said, well, I know where they are. And he told me exactly where to go. And we met with him, and we went to the Grand Canyon, and long story short, we went to these gigantic cactus. I mean, they had to be 40 feet tall.
Oh, marvelous.
What are they called?
Saguaro cactus.
Yeah. But the thing I didn't ever know is that the sand is more like concrete. It is solid. It is hard. It wasn't... I don't know how you would
like a
grow a garden.
Driveway.
I don't know how you would grow a garden there. Could you?
Well, yeah, some of those spots actually have very high fertility to the soil, which is often because of the low rainfall. Nobody's gone and tilled it up and used it. Plus, the rainfall like we have here, it washes a lot of minerals right through the soil. But there, when it only gets a few inches a year, 15 inches or less. Right. There's a lot of the minerals are still in the soil. The soil is almost newer than it is here. So if you were able to tear it up and irrigate it, and provided it wasn't too alkaline or didn't have too much salt in it, or there's some of the minerals you don't really want, you can grow a pretty good garden. I mean, Israel's been doing that with some of their, taking pieces of desert and transforming them into
they are doing the Disney thing in Epcot. Where they show you the gardening of the future. I haven't been there a long time, so maybe they're doing it now.
Oh, yes.
In real life. But,
a lot of the great technologies coming out of Israel. I saw one of these incredible greenhouses that was set up at one of the University of Florida places, and they said, this is $1 million greenhouse. It's like, wow, you have to grow a lot of tomatoes to pay for that. I'm thinking I'm not going to put one of those in. But it was an Israeli design, and it had temperature controls, and things would open or close according to how hot or cold it was, or how high the humidity got. So it would always kind of maintain this perfect environment inside of it. So it's like high tech. It's beyond me.
I found it interesting before when you were answering one of your callers about the humidity and how that affects whether a plant or not, in this case, can grow here.
Yeah, date palms are a good example. The true date palms, Phoenix dactylifera is a beautiful, easy to grow palm in its native arid environment. When you grow them here, they tend to drop all of their fruit off because it's too humid, and then they just kind of go, I just can't do it. They drop all the fruit. So instead of holding on to the fruit and fattening the fruit up, they just have this big fruit drop. And pistachios have the same problem, almonds. There's some of the fig varieties don't really do all that hot here. They like it a little more arid. Olives, some of the olives don't do it.
Let me go to the phone. Good morning. You're on the air with David.
Good morning, David.
Good morning.
I have a question about lawns, and basically my belief is if it's green, it's good enough. But lately, no matter what I've been putting down or whatever, whether it's fertilizer or some kind of nutrients, it doesn't seem to be working. And I looked at the soil, and I used to be able to get like a thin layer of dark material, but now it seems like it's just nothing but all sand. And I don't have a sprinkler system, so it makes it kind of hard to water properly, I guess. But where I'm living here, we get very little rain for some reason. I've listened to the news, and it's raining all over, but where I'm living, I don't know if that's Florida or not, but
yeah.
I'm just wondering, is there anything you could help me out with as far as lawns go, and what I could be doing for this condition?
Yeah.
It seems like a couple of years ago we had a guy come in, a regular lawn mowing service, and all of a sudden the following year after he was done, I have more weeds than you can shake a stick at, and it seems like the only thing that's growing is the weeds and not the grass. And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
And David, if I could ask you to just wait through the break again. So
I can do that.
So we'll answer the question after the break. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Variable cloudiness today with a couple of showers and heavy thunderstorms in the area. The high 82 to 86. There'll be a shower and thunderstorm around early tonight, then partly cloudy later tonight, those 65 to 69. Tomorrow, clouds and breaks of sun with a couple of showers and thunderstorms. The high 84 to 88. Thursday, partly sunny with a shower and thunderstorm or two, high 86 to 90. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Loco Graphics would like to invite you to their second location on 200 next to Sonny's Barbecue. They are officially open to help you out with all your sign, vehicle wraps, and printing needs. Visit them and mention this ad for free business cards. Need a logo? We've got you covered. From business cards all the way to menus and flyers. Now 2 locations to better serve you. On Merricamp, half a mile east from Forest High School, and on 200 by Sonny's Barbecue. Loco Graphics, impacting your customers. Like us on Facebook.
One of the most common questions those nearing retirement are asking: will I outlive my money? Retirement questions like these and many more will be answered every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement with hosts Francois and Julian Pozenet. Francois and Julian will help you put your retirement puzzle together. Catch Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Ocala's News Talk, The Source 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
Don't get caught without your daily source of senior deals. Pick up your copy of the Senior Voice newspaper. It's your source for schedule and events tailored to seniors, with information you need, like a list of free events in the area. We even have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company to you that fits your needs, and all we ask in return is that you tell them where you heard about them. For more information, call Tom's Picks, 352-804-1223. And pick up your copy of the Senior's Voice at most any business up and down the 200 corridor.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Hi, I'm Seth with AA Lock, Dock, and Security. Have you ever thought about the locks or security on your house or business? Have you ever wondered why the keys to your new car cost so much? Well, at AA Lock, Dock, and Security, we can help with securing your valuables. We can even replace those expensive transponder keys. We can give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
Putting the local back into radio. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. WOCA News. Variety. Information. Now. Keep your arms and legs on the inside at all times.
This is James Snyder, inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM.
You're listening to WOCA, Ocala.
All right, 12 minutes left in the show. Wow, it goes fast. Dave Goodman is here. He is sitting in for Carol Ann Baldwin, who is out there doing something, I'm sure. His new book is called Compost Everything. David the Good is the name he goes by. If you're looking up David's books or his music or his survival gardening secrets audiobook I just found there, or his art, my goodness, you're a busy guy. The website I found all of this on is David's website. It's floridasurvivalgardening.com. All right, and we have some sponsors you need to mention, and then we'll answer Sonny's question.
Yes.
Oh, you will. I won't answer
Yes,
anything.
we've got. We are sponsored by P&P Tikis, and I've always really liked tiki hats. I mean, I've even got kind of a, tropical shirt on today. P&P Tikis. Look them up. I think they are pptikihuts.com, and we are also sponsored by Black Cow, the mature manure. I'm thinking about singing the song, but I'm gonna have the guitar.
Mature manure.
Black Cow is definitely some good stuff, and they are a Florida company. Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens is another one of our sponsors, and I do grow a couple of camellias myself, but they are Camellia sinensis, which is green tea. So I grow my own tea.
I didn't know that.
And some of the camellias, if check out Bob Wine's camellias, are beautiful and amazing, and they bloom when a lot of other stuff isn't blooming, and they're very well suited to this area. So Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, look them up. The question was, this gentleman's lawn is in poor shape. He had a lawn service come through for a period of time, and he said that he used to have some black soil underneath, and now he's got sandy soil, and the weeds want to be there, and the grass does not want to be there. And what's the answer? Well, I mean, my broader answer is that lawns are not well suited to Florida in general. Lawns grow in areas where you have either frequent fires or grazing animals. And so you have frequent fires clearing out the brush and everything, and it returns to prairie. So you get these really fast grass fires going through. You get prairie there, right? And if you have grazing animals, you have something that is cutting and manuring the ground regularly. So, I mean, we do the same thing. We get the lawnmower out and we pretend we're a grazing cow. And then we go out with our bag of fertilizer and we manure the ground to try and get it going. And then you got to pour water on it because, we've got sandy soil here. So if you look at a patch of ground here in Florida, it wants to be a forest. And so that's why I'm a big fan of the food forest ideas. Grow your food in a forest rather than trying to grow it in the sand. Because once a forest grows up, it takes care of itself. The soil gets deep and rich, the worms move in, the birds and all that stuff. For this gentleman's lawn, my guess is that probably repeated cutting in drier times, the sand is drying out, and all the organic matter that's near the surface is just blowing away in dust. I mean, it's gone, or it washes through. Lawns do not hold it very well. One thing that I've done is let the lawn grow long during the dry period. If you cut it when it's really dry and you cut it short, a lot more of that organic matter is just
But you don't have a homeowners association on your back.
That is a problem. The homeowners associations don't get it. They want you out there pouring. But it sounds like he doesn't have irrigation, so I'm not sure what he's dealing with. If you are dealing with a homeowners association, I mean, I used to be in a town where they had me cut my lawn right when the tulips were coming up. I had tulips I'd planted all over the front yard up in Tennessee, and so it was beautiful. All these tulips were up, and then they were like tall grass and weeds cut within such and such days or face fine.
They gave you a note?
They gave me a note for my tulips.
Oh, no.
You monsters.
Did you tell them that's tulips? That's not weeds?
I waited till the very, very last day, so I figured the tulips would have enough strength to come back the next year. But it was one of those, you got to be kidding. I was too busy to deal with this.
Oh, man.
You can't fight City
Hall. That is a funny story, though.
But if you let it grow longer during the dry season, and then you can mow it more regularly when it's wet, you can allow the grass to hold on to more moisture because the ground has more shade. When you lose that shade on the ground, it's nasty. And what the weeds are trying to do is repair the soil. You've got weeds with deep tap roots like thistles, and some of their wire weed. You go out there and you try and pull it out. It's got this great big root beneath the ground. What it's doing is it's those roots go deep. They pull up minerals. They bring it to the surface. Then that plant dies and rots on top of the surface, and it drops minerals where it was.
Wow.
So another weed can come in afterwards. They've all been designed to fill these different purposes.
I love that.
Some of them grab across the top of the soil. They creep all over the ground. They cover bare sand, and they hold it together with their roots. They stop erosion, so.
Wow. You have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with David.
Hi. I've got another question. You guys are talking about lawn and that. So I do that, too, during the dry time of the year. But I've got a sprinkling system. But I let my lawn. What I'm going to tell you, I don't know if this is my thinking clearly or not on this particular subject, but I let my lawn grow real tall, and you get these long spikes in the grass that have like these little seedlings on the end. Is that actually grass trying to, fall on the ground and grow again?
Yes. Those are the flowers of the grass. Some of them will set seed, some of them will not. My understanding is that quite a few of our lawn grasses are now sterile, so they don't really set any more seed. So they may put up heads or blooms, and drop maybe some pollen, but they're not able to actually set their own seed anymore.
Why is that?
Well, it's just ongoing breeding sometimes. It's like bananas, where they've been bred for specific characteristics for so long they didn't really care about bananas reproducing themselves because people are cutting, pulling the pups and replanting the pups, and they wanted bananas without seeds. So it may be, some of them will in fact set, but I don't believe St. Augustine will, and some of our common ones.
Yeah, well, I've got Bahia grass, so what you're saying is that me leaving that grass grow real long and hoping that it reseeds the lawn again, it's not really happening now.
Well, Bahia may be doing it. Bahia is a little bit of a wilder grass, but I'm not really a lawn expert.
Yeah.
But
I would personally prefer a Augustine grass, but my God, you have to water it.
Oh yeah, it looks fantastic when it's done. There's these office parks down there in Fort Lauderdale where it looks like you just rolled a green carpet out on the ground.
Yeah,
it's utterly perfect. But they're running the sprinklers every night,
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then here, you can only water it twice a week this time of the year, and you're barely keeping your grass up, doing that, hoping for the rain to come.
Yes. Water really as deeply as possible those 2 days and hope for the best. Yeah, but you're right to leave it growing long, and if it is, you can find out if it's setting seed by feeling those heads, and if you can roll off the little hard seeds on them instead of just, the bloom's kind of like little green fluffy things. You can go through there and just squish them, but if they've dried out and they've set little heads on there, you can go along and roll it, and if there's little seeds, you've got seeds.
Yeah, very good. Okay, good, very good. It was really nice talking to you today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
Thank you. I have something about the plants in my yard. Now, I have some sago palms. That's what I want to ask you about.
Right.
I have followed Carol Ann's advice and not cut the limbs from the lower part of it. You know how some people do that? They'll cut all the limbs off of it and just leave the top part so it looks like a miniature palm tree.
Right.
Okay. So I don't do that. And they're big and fluffy and bushy. Everybody else in my neighborhood cuts the lower things off, and they seem to get taller. Like mine. Am I right about this? Is that not natural? I mean, they look all right, I guess, but they're more manicured.
Is it an illusion? I'm not going to say anything different than what Carol Ann says. I can't. It's Carol. It's in the garden with Carol.
But no, it's not about that. I'm asking, do they actually get taller when you cut the bottom limbs off?
They may be trying to push out more leaves in order to photosynthesize.
That's what I was thinking.
More efficiently. Yeah, maybe they're like,
so
I need some sun, and they're trying to push up a little bit and get some more leaves out, and then they get cut off again. But I'm not sure. Maybe they just don't like you. Maybe that's why they're short.
Do you know what happened to one of mine? You know how they have that big cone that comes out?
Yes.
And it attracts bees. I had 7 cones come out.
Oh, that's marvelous.
7 in the middle of one plant.
That's very cool.
I did a little video of it so I could share it with Carol Ann. I'll have to share it with you.
Did you get video of the bees on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, that's why I did a video, so that you could see the bees, because with a regular snapshot, you might not have been able to see them. But
yeah, it's funny. When I first moved into my property with this row of hollies along the front, and I said, I can't eat hollies. I don't really want hollies, and they didn't look very pretty, so I started pulling them out. But I left a couple in, and then in February, I was out there weeding around the yard, and I hear this zzz, all these bees, and I'm like, what is that? And the hollies had these teeny weeny little white flowers, and they were just bees all over the holly. And I'm I'm going to leave a couple of these things because the bees are getting nectar before all those other flowers are coming in, because those hollies are blooming in February. You learned something. There was a place for it. Feed some bees.
Well, you seem to really understand the relationship between things, between plants and animals. You seem to understand this whole beautiful balance that God or nature, however you want to look at it, has created. I mean, you get it.
I believe there's patterns there, in that the easiest gardening comes from observing the patterns that have already been laid down in nature and trying to follow them as close as possible. The more fighting you do, I mean, the more things you have to do, the more pest control, the more fertilizing and all that sort of thing, the harder it gets to do. The more you can sort of outsource to natural processes, the happier I think your garden will be and the easier it is to do.
The show went very fast. I forgot to get Carol Ann's song going here. Okay. During the break, after the show, I'll show you my little 7-cone thing.
All right.
David, thank you. That was great. Tell us your website again.
The website is floridasurvivalgardening.com. floridasurvivalgardening.com, and it's a daily gardening site suited to this area. So the advice is local, and you can write in there in the comments or drop me an email, and I will answer your questions.
Very good. Thank you, David. That was fun, as always.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. The acting head of the TSA reassigned after an embarrassing finding about the
agency. This new internal report shows that 67 out of 70 attempts to pass contraband material through TSA security, screeners did not detect the contraband.
Fox's Doug McElway at Reagan National Airport.
In the aftermath of this, DHS Secretary Jay Johnson tried to put the best face on it with a statement last night, which read in part, "These numbers in this report never look good out of context, but they are a critical element in the continual evolution of our aviation security."
Secretary of State John Kerry scheduled to have surgery on his broken leg in Boston. The State Department says before the surgery, Kerry's taking part by phone in an international gathering to fight ISIS. And the president's fight to curb the use of antibiotics in meat, starting with his own employees. White House saying many federal cafeterias will start buying meat produced with fewer this year. Fox News, we report, you decide.
And now another